Yes. Yes, somebody just asked a question. All right, we'll catch up.
It wasn't me, but let me take the word. So it's my first time here, so I would like to say hi to everyone.
Well,
So
hi.
I'm a little bit
Welcome.
feeling like a stranger. I hope I
Uh,
will get rid of that feeling soon.
Oh, no worries. Welcome aboard and glad you could make it. Where are you located?
Where I'm in Istanbul, Turkey.
Okay. A very nice place. So hopefully this time works for you.
Yeah, it's just perfect timing for me. So I have just finished my work, finished all the meetings there, and have time to spend for this right
Excellent.
now. It's 5 o'clock here in Istanbul.
Oh, so it's not too bad.
Yeah.
So I just dropped the link to the Google Doc in the chat. So please go ahead and sign in and let me share my screen.
yeah, I want to tell that the issue you assigned me yesterday, someone already did that issue, so we have to close that issue.
Okay. Yeah, we'll go over what's happening on that front here in a second. So just some updates that have been happening over the last week. The service catalog, Ukarsh has been fixing the database connection issue that we're having. When we get a database, when there's like a timeout that happens in the background. So thank you very much for figuring that out. I could tell as we've been rolling out the changes to those microservices that it's working, because some of the ones we haven't changed throw errors, and the ones that we fix are recovering just fine. So it looks like that is working well, the fix that you came up with.
Okay, that's great.
Some of the other things that have been we've been talking about is around the packaging and the installation process of Ortelius. So right now, the current version that we have, Ortelius is basically a monolith. It's a monolith container that has all the Java code in it, and it also has runs Postgres if it needs to as part of that, and uses a volume mount to persist everything. So it's been very convenient to get up and going, because you could just you don't have to install Kubernetes. You could just run it with Docker to kind of kick the tires with Ortelius. Now that we've moved over to splitting out into, I think, 5 or 6 additional microservices, we need to kind of package all those microservices as a whole to go ahead and be able to install into Kubernetes. So as part of that process, I opened a couple issues, and I believe it's Karam and Ujwal are going to be looking at how to interact with Artifact Hub. And it looks like what we need to do is stand up our own, basically, chart museum, or a way to host our charts. And based on the documentation I read really quickly, it looks like we can just basically, they're just static files that have to be in a certain directory structure for Helm to go ahead and pick that up as a repo. So one of the other things, once we have that repo established, we can then go ahead and publish out onto Artifact Hub our repo. So the way it looks like, Artifact Hub is no longer a place that you would upload your charts to, but basically it's a consolidation or federation of existing chart museum repos that are out there. So it's going to be, I think it's going to work out easier in the long run, that we'll be able to control our own repo but also have Artifact Hub as like a shopping or marketplace for people to find Ortelius. As part of that process, the Helm charts are already all set to go. There's values files. One of the things is that our charts are spread across our poly repos. So as part of the build process, and it looks like it would be the build process for our website, we would bring in those charts and get them in the right directory structure and things like that. And then we would just go ahead and publish our website as normal. That's kind of the feel I get for it, but we need to do some more digging on that to make sure I'm understanding the process correctly. Just so you know, if you go out to the Ortelius.io homepage, you can sign up for be able to test out the new version. And basically the sign up, you can put in any project name and company name, just make it up. And what will happen is we will go ahead and load the sample data for the hipster store plus sample data for the CVEs, licenses, Swagger files and things like that. So go ahead and please sign up and go ahead and start testing. Play around with that. I did notice that there may be an issue when you switch between what was it? You go from a component version over to an application version, and then there's a tab called like a package tab, and we got this overlay problem. I thought it was fixed, but it looks like it came back for some reason. It may be just a caching problem on my browser, but I got to double check that. But play around with that. Open issues in the Ortelius Ortelius repo, and just assign them to the service catalog location. Also out there as part of Hacktoberfest, we have documentation changes to deal with the service catalog. So the service catalog, let me see if I can bring it. I think I have one running. Jump over it. So it's part of the service catalog. What we have is we've added new boxes, and the new boxes are pertain to different objects in the service catalog. So you can tell I'm up to my 22nd user ID that I did to try to get the data to load in correctly. 22 tries. So in the as part of that, so we'll need to document what's happening with each one of these boxes. So in the Hacktoberfest, you'll see an issue that's available for doing the README, doing Swagger. If that's, please pick those up. They're going to be like a 15-minute to a half-hour update to the documentation, explain what this box is, the license issue, the license consumption. So please pick those up. Easy way to get your Hacktoberfest and the license down here are the other ones. If you can't figure out what they're about, just go ahead and ping the Discord channel, and we'll chime in to help you get the details on that. So the website, if you want to, and the documentation, if you go to the docs, and if you go to the contributor guide, it is under, I think, this one. No. Oops, went to the wrong one. Contributor guide, and then how-to tips. So all of our documentation, whether it's and the website, use Hugo as our server. So it's really easy. Just follow the steps to download Hugo, get it installed locally. From there, you just fork either the Ortelius docs or the Ortelius website, and you'll be able to bring it down and make the changing. It's all in Markdown. You'll be able to test all your changes locally before you create your PR. So please, if you're looking for somewhere to start, grab one of those and let's get those taken off of our list for Hacktoberfest. And they'll that's an easy way to get a couple pull requests to count. Also, just make sure before you do that, if you're interested in Hacktoberfest, you go to the DigitalOcean site and register over there. We do have Captain. GitOps, that's going to be this evening. My time, it's going to be 8:30 Sydney time in Australia, AM. Brad is going to run it tonight because I'm out of the office. I'm going on a holiday for a couple days. So Brad's going to run it. There's going to be talk about the Captain, Argo. Sasha's writing up the POC diagram. And that's kind of what's happening on that front. Utkarsh, you want to kind of give a little highlight of what you're doing with the Captain side?
Yep, sure. So we have a Captain environment for Ortelius that is up and running. And in locally, I tried to deploy multi-staging environments. And we were doing the same in our Ortelius environment. So there are like a couple of configuration that needs to be done. So Brad is taking care of those things. Parallelly, what I'm trying to do, I'm trying on multiple repos so that we can identify any changes to any repos, and after that we can do the health checkups and deployment accordingly. Yeah.
And are you going to have to write any, I think they call them in Captain microservices as like event listeners?
Yes, correct. So currently I'm using CLI commands.
Okay.
But going forward, we have to write a solution for that because we'll be using the APIs for that.
Perfect. And what languages do you think we'll use for that? Is it Go or Python or Node?
Yeah, so like that totally depends on us. So there are SDKs, there are flexibility, there are samples available, so we can use Go or Python, anything.
Nice, excellent. And if you're interested in what, so Sasha and I did on, I think it was Monday, did a working session, and I recorded it, and you'll see it up on YouTube. So it's kind of a walkthrough or talk about the flow of how, when you check something in, what happens to Captain, what happens to Ortelius, and Argo, who's doing what updates where. So if you're interested in kind of how the POC is going to fall out, our initial pass, you can look at that video, and Sasha's putting together like the documentation and the diagram around that front. So that is out there for you to take a look at. Those are the two big things that we have going on right now. If you're, I know there's a couple issues out there that people want to work on, like around the installation process, how to document the installation process, those types of things, how to set up a local environment. Some of that we're waiting for, like it's kind of like a prerequisite to figure out the artifact hub before we can go on and figure out the next step. So we are backed up a little bit on that. So if it looks like you're stalled on that, please grab another issue to work on and get your PRs going on that front. Any questions or comments, or if I missed anything? Quiet group today. All right.
I think
Yeah.
we have covered everything. I don't
Okay.
think we have left anything.
I'm trying to think if there's, let me just jump over to. Oh, I know that the you'll see on the Discord channel for the builds that we're getting some failures showing up on some of the builds. For some reason, our credentials got messed up again with Azure. So I have to look to see what's going on that front. One of the things I kind of posted over to Utkarsh. If you go into the deploy hub side, if you want to like kind of dig deeper on what's happening. Is if we go into, there's a login that you can use. Just log in with Ortelius as the username and Ortelius as the password. And you can get into the project that we're using for Ortelius. So this is where you can see all the websites being deployed, the versions of the website, that documentation. Those are in Ortelius itself. Let me change my filter here. So you'll see like the DevOps is the application that we're using to deploy all the microservices that we have. So in this case, we have our 6 microservices that are being deployed at that level. So there is some work that needs to be done on this front if you're interested. Like one of the things is this application version only has our 6 microservices and it should have 9. What's happening is in the cloud build piece, it is getting split between 2 different application versions. So it's just a little tweak that we need to do. So this one looks better. This has some of the other ones. So there's just some minor stuff that we need to do on that front. Like I said, the build logs will be available. You can see the last deployment that happened was yesterday, and you can dive into here and look at the log detail. So if you see on the cloud build side that there's something happening where it failed and it gets a timeout or something, you could come over to log into the deploy hub console here, and we'll see what we're having right here is a credentials problem. So just if you're interested, if you want to get more into understand how we're using deploy hub to deploy Ortelius, which is basically our Ortelius deploying itself. Let me know and I can help you walk you through what's happening on that front.
Yeah, that's great.
And there's some, like I said, there's some cleanup that we need to do. Like the versions are coming across correctly. The application versions, that needs to be cleaned up a little bit. So there's things that we just have to do on that front. And all of that happens at the cloud build stage. So if we look at a cloud build, we'll take a simple one. Oh, this is the one that's being used. So what ends up happening in our build process, we set up a set of variables basically to say this is the application name, the version, the component that we're building, the repo, the chart that we're going to use, and then we do our Docker build here and tag it. This will also push it. Let me turn on word wrap for you. So that does the build and the push over to Quay. And then from there, we actually call our deploy hub command line to record everything on the deploy hub site. And then this will also this will in turn do the deployment of everything that was just built. So deal with the whole incremental build process. So if we just change one microservice, like Utkarsh has been doing, like validate user gets updated, we'll just go ahead and deploy, just validate user will get deployed out as a new version of the application. So this is like one of the things that we need to add to all the charts is the application version here. I'll make sure to open an issue around that, but there's just some little cleanup that we need to do on that front, just to pull everything together and make it easier down the road. And this same command line that we're using here, you can use in a Jenkins pipeline as well. So this basically, this DH is a update comp. It's a Python program that's in the Ortelius repo that we can utilize. It makes a bunch of RESTful API calls to the Ortelius and server side. So just a bunch of RESTful stuff. And then it has a bunch of logic on how to deal with versions and iterating things and figuring out what to do next. So just to give you a highlight there, what's happening on the build level. But that's what's happening. When the build happens, you'll see this step will sometimes time out or it'll get an error. And that's where you can go over, like I said, over on the Ortelius side, the deploy up side, and look at the login with Ortelius, and you'll be good to go. Any questions on that? I hope that helps.
Yes, Steve, that helps.
I think that's
just one question here.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like, are we using Argo CD here? Because Brad was showing us like the deploy hub uses Argo CD, right?
Not yet. So what this is doing is Ortelius and Deploy Hub both have a deployment engine, and that deployment engine understands how to interact with Helm to do the deployments. So in this case, what's happening, I just picked a random application version. So one of the things that we do is there's a first step where we create this TOML file. And basically TOML is just like YAML. It's just a little bit easier to read. And this is your values file. And that values file is basically you think of it as the overrides file for Helm. And what this is doing is it's bringing in all the key value pairs from the component, application, environment, and endpoint. So there's a stack of variables that happen for deployment time that the deployment engine knows about. And this allows us to separate data from definition. So for example, if we want to connect to a dev cluster versus a production cluster, we can define the cluster name at the environment. So when we go to deploy to the dev environment, we can go and pull down the cluster name that's associated with dev versus production. And that gets dropped into this values file. So when we get to the Helm part, which is down here, we can see all the values that are coming across, like the chart name, the SHA, all these variables are going to be exposed to Helm at that level. Now our Helm templates are going to pick up things like the Docker repo will be a variable name that our Helm templates look for, and we'll go ahead and substitute in that as part of that process. So it makes it easy for us to do a Helm upgrade, basically, which is happening right here against our Kubernetes cluster. And that's one of the steps that's happening up here is it's logging in to Kubernetes. And that's where I have to figure out why our credential is messed up. So it's logging into Kubernetes as one of the first steps. And this is another set of variables that come from the environment or endpoint. So you can switch cloud providers throughout the process, so you can mix and match. So dev could be on Azure, production could be on Google. It doesn't matter to us. Now in the GitOps world, when we talk to Argo, what will happen is, where'd it go? This values file information, instead of being just kept locally, and we tell Helm to use this local overrides file, this overrides data will be checked into back into the repo, and then Argo will look at, oh, I just got a new values file update. Let me go ahead and deploy to the cluster I need to deploy to. So one of the things we have coming down the road for other updates besides like the events that your Ukarsh is working on from Captain side, the Captain side, on the GitOps side, we're going to have to take and do some additional like GitHub commands and things like that, and maybe interact with like the GitHub API to create PRs and things like that and automatically approve them. But basically we need to get this values file into the appropriate repo so Argo can then pick it up and start running with it.
Okay, that makes sense.
So the nice thing will be we can swap, and what ends up happening is instead of this Helm upgrade, we'll have like a Git upgrade or something like that, you know, our GitOps upgrade, and we'll basically have to write some sort of command line to do that interaction with Git, and whether we're going to be dealing with PRs or if we're directly going to go on to a certain branch, that type of thing will be where some new coding that we'll need to do down the road.
Yep.
So that, does that kind of help how we're doing it today and how we're going to interact with Argo down the road?
Yep. So
Perfect.
I've got an idea now. So yeah, this helps.
Yeah, and then when we bring in the whole Captain events process, so Captain events allows us to do, you can think of like it's event driven Jenkins. So instead of having a like kind of like a hard coded pipeline, you can create more of a dynamic pipeline using the Captain events, and we can chain things together and have things go in parallel at that level. And one of the cool things that they have in Captain is what they call quality gates. So what we can, and part of this is what Ukarsh is working on, is we can deploy into QA, for example, and then we can run a quality gate check to see if everything tests out okay. And if it doesn't, then we can go ahead and roll that back or take the next step. If it's successful, the quality gate's good, then we can move up to production at that level. So it allows us to really automate some stuff pretty slick. Any other questions or comments? All right. Well, like I said, please pick up some of those issues. Some of them are pretty low hanging fruit. Grab those and help us wrap up the service catalog. We're at the tail end here, and I would really like to get it out the door here soon.
Yep. So I can take up a couple of documentation tasks as well.
Yeah, well, and when you go into an issue, please assign yourself, just so that we don't have multiple people working on the same thing.
Okay.
And then when we do when the pull request comes across, we'll add the labels on and at the pull request level, so you get your counted for Hacktoberfest. Alrighty. Well, thank you, everybody. And reach out if you need anything. Even though I'll be taking some time off, I'll still keep an eye on what's happening on Discord. So thanks, everybody, and have a good day.
Yeah. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.